So advanced analytics. What is advanced analytics? So really all it is it's taking all the data that now you know is clean and reliable and organized, and you're taking it to that next level. And you're starting to apply it in a way that is really starting to move the needle with your marketing efforts. Only 22% of marketers today have data-driven marketing initiatives that are achieving significant results. That means 1 out of 5 people doing marketing today are seeing reliable results, significant results in their marketing efforts, which is really just a shame. And you know, there's a lot of reasons why this can be happening, but one of the most common reasons that I see is that people are trying to measure success in silos, right? So maybe they have some Facebook ads running, and maybe they have some PPC running, and they're doing everything separately, and they're measuring success in those channels, but they're not truly looking at the big picture and how one marketing channel can affect another. So one of the first steps in getting to that advanced level of analytics is data aggregation. It's really pulling all of that data from all those different channels into one place so that you can look at it all at the same time. You know, we ran a campaign recently for an ebook download. So we developed this ebook, we made it a downloadable, we put up a landing page on our website, and then we started running ads in Facebook, and we had Twitter ads running, we had some PPC and display going, and then ultimately we brought people back to our email platform where we started nurturing those leads. And of course, you know, every touch point involved the website somehow. So now we have 5 different platforms that we're looking at. We have 5 different sources of data. And not only is it cumbersome to try and go between those different platforms and figure out what's happening, but there's no way to see everything together. There's no way to see the big picture of what your campaign is doing. So what you need to do is you need to pull all of that data into one centralized location so that you can look at all of your channels side by side. And you can start to see the impact that you're making on a more granular level. So for this ebook download campaign, one of the things that I noticed was for our Facebook ads, we had some really high click-through rates. And you know, a lot of the click-throughs were coming from the age groups, from the 45 and up age group. So we were getting a lot of reach, getting a lot of engagement, but then once they got to the website, there were virtually no conversions. So what we decided to do is we decided to pull back the budget on that older age group. And then what we saw was the click-through rate went down, but our conversion rates went up, right? So we were starting to get a little bit more granular in how we were optimizing these campaigns, and we were able to do that because we could see both of these channels side by side. So when you're talking about data aggregation, then you can really start to get into these customized dashboards. You can start to look at all of these different things side by side. And you can get really detailed. You know, you can look at the health of your website, like Alex was talking about, but now you're not only looking at your website data, but you're tying that back into, you know, you're showing it to the right people. And then you can see, you know, from your AdWords campaign, okay, this is my click-through rate, these are my impressions, but then once they get to the website, you know, this is how much time they're spending on the website. So it's a much bigger picture understanding of what's happening in these different channels. Same thing with Facebook. You know, looking at your Facebook engagement stats is all well and good, but how are they engaging with the website once they get there? And then you can start to build custom dashboards for the higher ups. You know, the guys, the people who are signing the checks may not want to know all of those details. They just want to know what the overall picture is. So now you can start to think, okay, how can I build a dashboard that gives them a snapshot of how these marketing efforts are going? And you can start to build these kind of awareness funnels. These are really helpful when you're trying to explain all the different channels kind of in one big picture. Brand awareness is really like how many people are seeing your brand every day, how many people are touching your brand every day, and then you start to get more and more focused with how you're marketing these people based on where they are in this stage. And you have to decide ahead of time how you're going to measure these things. Like, how are you going to measure the interest level of an audience? Is it going to be a PDF download, or is it going to be the time that they spend on your site? You have to start thinking about how you're going to measure these so that you can present it in a cohesive way. So as you get more granular with what you're measuring and what you're seeing in your data, then you can really start to think about, okay, who are my audiences? And you know, so many times clients come to us and they tell us who their audience is, when really they don't have the data to back it up. they're just guessing. They're guessing based on historical data. They're guessing based on what they know about their current customers, and that's fine. But it's not going to be accurate, and it's not going to take you to that next level. How are you going to find a way to expand your audience if all you're doing is talking to the same people over and over again? So you really have to look at your data to tell you who your audience is. Otherwise, you're just putting the cart before the horse, right? So now you're spending all of this marketing budget in these places where you think your audiences are, but that's not really who they are. So take the time to sort those audiences out. Look through your data to find patterns and figure out where these audiences are coming from, who they are, what kind of content they're consuming, and start thinking about how you can get more and more detailed with those audiences. There's an infinite set of variables that you can be looking at. There's just so much information out there. It could be as simple as, are they on a desktop or a mobile device, right? So those are two separate audiences, and it's simple. But it's important to recognize that you're talking to two different audiences there. If you're a B2B company, you're talking to the whole company. You're marketing to the whole company. But who are you marketing to? Are you marketing to somebody who's in IT, or are you marketing to your CEO, right? These are two different audiences. And the more you look at your data, the more you can discover these different audiences and these nuances and how they're behaving. And sometimes you find things that you never really expect to find, something that is just really out of character. You can find these little nuggets of information. Say if somebody is a Batman fan or a Superman fan, you just never know what you're going to find. You have to take the time to look, and it's really important to start after you find these patterns and after you find these audiences. You have to start treating them differently, because different audiences are going to react in a different way. And it might be a little bit daunting to think, okay, so there's this infinite set of variables. Well, how do I choose which ones are important to my business? And again, if you go back and look at your data, it will tell you. It's always going to tell you which of these audiences is going to be more likely to convert, right? And then you can hone in on that audience, and you can perfect your messaging to that audience, and then start to expand and reach out to new ones. So the next stage in the analytics maturity model after the advanced stage of analytics is closing the loop. So what do I mean by closing the loop, right? This is especially important for B2B companies, because a lot of times what happens is these companies will get these leads from all of their marketing efforts, and then nothing happens with them, right? 79% of marketing leads never convert into sales. That means 4 out of 5 of those leads that you worked so hard to get are not going to become sales. That's just abysmal. Why are you spending that money? You're wasting your time, you're wasting your money. So how do you start to close that loop? One of the first steps is what we call a customer relationship management system. So I'm sure some of you have heard of CRMs. Some of you may even have CRMs. What we've seen more often than not is that these companies buy these CRMs and then they don't actually use them. It's a real problem, because how are you gonna take all those leads that you just paid for and turn them into sales if you're not actually using your CRM? And this kind of ties back to your analytics, because you have all of this data. You have so much information within your CRM, and then so much information from all this marketing that you're doing. But again, you're not integrating the two. When you start to think about these two things together, that's when you really start to come up with, okay, these are my audiences, this is the content they like, this is how I'm going to market to them, these are the channels that are working. And you start to see that full, complete loop where, okay, now I know that I have this lead, what happens to them after that? And then you have to start thinking about it as a cycle, right? So now that you have this lead, how are you going to change your marketing message to this lead? And now they're on the hook, right? You just have to take them that extra few steps to turn that into a sale. So within your CRM and combining that with your marketing data, you can start to get a little bit more granular with who these audiences are, right? Now you're not just talking about a big group of people, you're talking about individuals, right? And the closer that they get to that sale, the more the personalization matters. You have to speak to them as if you care about who they are and you care about what they want. It's really important to identify, okay, I'm not just speaking to all of the CEOs of potential clients. I'm talking to the CEO of this company at this time in his sales cycle or in his buying process. So as you start to develop these personas, right, and you've got your CRM working for you, then you can start to think about marketing automation. And marketing automation is another one of those things that I see companies misuse all the time. Essentially what it is, if you've ever heard of a drip campaign. So you get somebody into that sort of consideration phase of the lead process, and you have to start thinking about, okay, how am I gonna get them all the way down the sales funnel? And you start to develop these plans, right? Because now you know who you're talking to, you know who these personas are, you understand what it is that they want, you've learned from your data the kind of content that they like. So how do I build a plan for them? How do I start planning out how to get them down that sales funnel? And then again, tie all of this back to your marketing, right? After you see what's happening on your CRM side, on your lead nurturing side, find what works and turn it back into your marketing. And vice versa. What you're seeing in your marketing channels can really affect your lead nurturing as well. So building a channel attribution model is something that I think everybody wants right now. And what channel attribution is, a million different touch points that somebody can have with your brand at any given time. You could be running different campaigns in different channels. You could have a billboard on the side of the road. You could be at trade shows, right? So all of those different channels are part of your marketing efforts. And you have to consider all of that budget when you're talking about attribution models. And if all you're doing is looking at last click attribution, then you're really missing the picture. And I've had a couple clients come to me and say, hey, here's my data, build me an attribution model. But it's not magic. You can't just say, ding, here's your attribution model. What you need is data to create it, and that data needs to be clean and reliable. So if somebody comes to me and says, here's my data, build me an attribution model, I have to know the context, I have to know what campaigns they ran, I have to know all kinds of things that were happening outside their business. I mean, it's not something that you can just magically appear. And honestly, it can sometimes take years to build something that you can truly rely on. It depends on how quickly your business moves, and it depends on what it is that you're tracking as success, but ultimately it's not an overnight process. And there are some quote unquote out of the box solutions that you can start to take a look at. This particular attribution model is from Google Analytics. So these are the different touch points for for the website as we ran this ebook download campaign. So you think somebody sees an ad for an ebook download, they click on it and then they go download it. But it's not always that simple. Sometimes it takes 3, 4, 5 steps for them to finally pull that trigger. And as you start to look at these out-of-the-box solutions, you can start to take into consideration the different channels that you need to be in order to get that final sale. So after you close that loop and you've got a really strong data foundation, now we can go into the final stage of our attribution model, which is the business planning. So what do I mean by business planning? What I mean is that you're not just taking for granted that you understand where your business needs to go. You're using your data to tell you where your business is going to succeed, and you're capitalizing on that. Only 44% of CMOs say they can measure ROI. So Chief Marketing Officer is responsible for all of the marketing for a given company. And if only 44% of them can measure ROI, I mean, in my opinion, that's their job. Their job is to measure ROI, and they're not effectively doing that. And that's a problem. It needs to be solved for. So you have to be able to build an ROI model. And in order to do that, you have to prove that the marketing budget you're spending is turning into revenue. You have to prove that, and the only way you can do that is by building up your analytics maturity and being able to show that attribution and show those ROI in terms of, this is the amount I'm spending, and this is the amount we're making because of it. And after you can establish that and you can prove that, then you can start to think about, what are my long-term goals, right? Where do I want my business to be in 5 years? And how am I going to get it there? If I want my business to, double in size over the next 5 years, then I need to start thinking about, okay, well, now I know what's worked in the past. Let me apply that to new audiences and see how that works. But you can't do that until you figure out what's going on currently. And then in order to get to the future, you're going to need more money, right? You're going to need money to grow your business. And you're not going to get the budget you need unless you can prove the effectiveness of your efforts. And then you get to be the marketing hero. You get to be the one who goes out there and finds new audiences, who starts bringing in new business, who starts, considering how to find that new revenue stream. And then you can start thinking about how to predict the future. I mean, you're not going to be clairvoyant, but you can use what you've learned thus far and start applying it to your future goals. And you can start to predict how you think things are going to work, or how the industry is going to react. But it's all based on data. You're not just guessing anymore. This is data-driven spending. This is something that you can rely on and something that you can continue to fall back on. And then you have to start exploring new audiences, right? So now that you know your target audience and things are working there and your short-term goals are all taken care of, it's this well-oiled machine, now how do I get to that new audience, right? So these are the things that you need in place in order to start getting to that step. So just to quickly recap, I want to express the importance of going through each of these steps. You can't just jump into the process at level 5 and expect to be successful. You have to make sure everything's in place first before you can get to that level of analytics, because otherwise you're just going to be spending a lot of money on something that's not working. So it's really important to go through the process and take an evaluation of where you're at, assess where you're at, and start filling in those gaps and start making it make sense. Prove that the marketing money you're spending is turning into revenue.
I hope there was something in today's presentation that you were able to take back and start to apply at your organization to help make an impact. As you can see, this is a complex process. We designed this model after years of working with clients of all sizes and all industries and at all levels of analytics maturity. As Nicole mentioned, this is not an overnight effort. It really is a multi-step and often a multi-year initiative that never truly ends. It requires budget, it requires attention, it requires a strong focus, but the end result is well worth it, and it's absolutely vital in today's world. It pains us to see so many businesses invest so heavily in new websites, in new marketing technologies, new CRMs, but then become one of the statistics we showed today due to a lack of focus on analytics. It seems like a lot, and it is a lot, but it's really easy to get started. The first step in our process is an analytics audit. We audit your current landscape, we audit your current tools, we audit the data you're currently looking at, and we determine where your organization is on this map. We then work with you on establishing the goals and the foundation of where you want to head, and we put together a plan and a roadmap that gets you from point A to point B on this analytics maturity model, including the steps needed to get there, the timing, the resources needed to get there as well. Our second set of eyes, analyzing your current data and structure, will definitely bring out gaps, bring up new ideas, and show you kind of where the holes are and what it's going to take to fill those holes to get you to the next level of analytics maturity. Every company can get to level 5, and every company deserves to be at level 5. The journey there will be very unique to your organization. It's based on where you are today. It's based on the data you have at your fingertips. It's based on the resources available to you. But it's just a matter of putting all those pieces together and outlining a plan to get you to level 5 of analytics maturity. Our team of analytics experts and consultants help clients in a wide variety of ways, from outlining a strategy, an analytics strategy, and working with internal analytics teams on getting it executed and implemented, to vetting and selecting marketing technology platforms to help get you there, to cases where we're your full analytics team as an extension of your marketing department. Please reach out to us if there's anything you'd like assistance on getting started with this. There's many ways we can help, and again, it starts with an audit of where you are today. It's especially important as you start planning ahead for 2017 and all the initiatives you're going to start to undertake. Let's hear it for our speakers, Nicole and Alex. Thank you both very much.